Hey, what's up? This is BDL44 coming at you with another video. Okay, time to talk Nuggets Lakers. We got game one coming up tomorrow, and excitement is an understatement. We've been waiting a very long time. Very, very long time. 10 long years. And I know other fans are looking around saying, seriously, 10 years, dude? For real? But no, 10 years. It's a long time when you're used to winning championships, and we are spoiled. We will never, ever tell you we're not. Laker Nation is probably the most spoiled franchise in sports, period. Like, we just expect championships, we expect attention, we expect et cetera, the best players, all of that. I mean, we're spoiled. So I automatically assume I'm supposed to beat the Nuggets, right? Like, the Nuggets aren't on our level. They're not going to upset us. We're running through them, right? And that's why I've made this video. Look, you guys, I'm a Laker fan, obviously, to the core. But I'm an analyst first, and I can tell you when I see problems. The Denver Nuggets pose some problems for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I said the same thing about Portland, and I said the same thing about Houston. When you have very, very talented guards, you can attack the Lakers because that's our weakness. We have issues guarding pure scoring, high-powered superstar guards, and that's exactly what Jamal Murray is. So our focus, unlike the Clippers, whose focus should be to stop Jokic, our focus should be to stop Murray. Now, of course, we have to stop Jokic as well, but I think we have a much better handle on keeping up with him because we have a guy by the name of LeBron James who does the same things he does. So, unlike the Clippers, who had nobody moving the ball around for them on their offense, we can match the great playmaking of the Nuggets with the great playmaking of LeBron. So, you know what I mean? They don't have the edge in terms of court vision and cohesive offensive capability. They do have better shooters though, and that can prove to be a problem as well. But if our guys are shooting like they're capable of shooting, then we should be able to do good things. I do pick us to win the series, but I think the variables, the different ways this can go, are plentiful. It's like a million different ways this series can go. And the reason why I say that is because the Nuggets are so dang unpredictable. But you can bet on two things. The Nuggets not playing defenses for spurts at a time, and them heightening their game and their level when they sense that their backs are against the wall, whether that be in the series or whether that just be in individual games. When they start to feel like it's getting out of hand, something inside of that team morphs into a better version of themselves and they're able to erase deficits. I don't think that it's an anomaly. I don't think that it's just the Clippers in Utah that have faced that. I think this is the makeup of this team. Every team, just like every organism, has its own makeup. Every fingerprint is different, etc., And same goes for the curation of basketball teams. Even from year to year, you remove one piece, replace another piece, you have an entirely different team sometimes. And other times, depending on how the team is put together, you can plug in different pieces that may not necessarily even fit and still make it cohesive just by the way the team is initially constructed from its foundation. The Nuggets have a very, very, very unique foundation, and I've mentioned this a couple times in my videos. The Nuggets have a center that can shoot from pretty much anywhere on the floor, who has footwork in the paint if he has to put his back up against the basket, and can stretch the floor in such a way that makes it very difficult to really keep him honest. That's dangerous, because you, of course, have to double somebody like that, right? Wrong. Because if you double this guy, he's even better at passing than he is at scoring the ball. And he can rebound very well. He's not a soft Euro big guy. He really gets in there, he digs deep, and he will bang with you if necessary. So, what you have is seemingly an unguardable force. And the problem with trying to scheme against him is that because he's so smart and because he's so patient, you can't speed him up or slow him down. And I heard other analysts say this, so I'm copying someone else in regards to what I'm saying, but it's true. I recognize and see it the same way. He really doesn't get sped up. You can't just go fast and think things are going to, work just because you've sped up the pace against a guy like Jokic, because he's so cerebral that he still manages to stay in his own pace, nevertheless, and make things happen for his team. He can run cold. Sometimes he does get a little bashful when it's time to shoot the ball. Sometimes I've seen him do that, but he hasn't done it in this bubble. So that tells me that he's aggressive. His three-point shot is falling, and we're going to have to be aware of the fact that he's going to get off. He's going to get off, and his way of getting off gets other people off. So play the passing lanes. Let him shoot. That's the moral of the story for me. If I'm strategizing this situation, looking at it at face value, you turn Jokic into a shooter, and you live with the results. You always play the passing lane because he's always thinking pass first. As great of a shooter as he is and scorer as he can be, he wants to pass twice before he shoots first. So think that way when playing him. Rondo's so important in this series, man. The way that he played in the Rockets series can really ease my concerns about guarding, or at least matching the intensity of Jamal Murray and their guards. We match up pretty well with them, to be honest with you, in terms of guard play. A guy like Jeremy Grant, I think, is going to create some problems for us. He's a big body that they're going to probably try to throw on LeBron. LeBron's going to make him look silly, but the point is, he's going to bang. And for 5 and 6 games, banging up against him, Craig, Plumlee, of course, Jokic, they have guys that are going to get physical with us. We've seen physicality in the Portland series, but the Rocket series kind of gave us a little time off, with the exception, of course, PJ Tucker, who pushes everybody around. But they're going to see much more physical play from this Denver team, so I would expect our Lakers will be prepared for that. Listen, this team doesn't make too many mistakes when the game is on the line. They are one of the more poised teams when it's time to be poised, and that's dangerous even when you're more talented than them, as the Clippers found out. But I feel like LeBron James is the right guy to go up against a team like this, because his mystique and his the respect that he demands, I think can help us in this type of situation with a young team that we're going up against. Even though they've had a hell of a lot of experience at this point, what they haven't gone up against is the king. And I think there's something to be said for that. If he starts pushing his weight around, hitting his spectacular shots, doing the things that he does well, I think that can speak to putting us in a position to really try to at least snatch some of their confidence from them. Because I think that's what the Clippers were unable to do, and that's what Utah was unable to do. They weren't able to kill the killer. That's what I noticed. As much as they said that the Jazz had, a tough defensive team, they weren't able to do anything with Jamal Murray. As great of a team of dogs that the Clippers were said to have had, they weren't able to do anything with Jamal Murray when it came down to it in Game 7. When it really mattered most, they did a good job with him throughout the regular season. Throughout the meat of the series, But when it came down to it, when it was in Game 7, when they really needed him to slow down, couldn't do nothing with him, because they weren't able to take his heart. They weren't able to make him feel like he had lost. Utah could never make him feel like he had lost. Even with 18-point leads, he didn't respect the opponent enough to hang his head. That speaks to who he is, but it also speaks to who his opponent was. You understand what I'm saying? Like some of that stuff can be eased up by just applying the right amount of pressure. And I think that the Lakers have a guy by the name of LeBron James that can apply that pressure properly to kind of offset what I think is a great player manifesting before our very eyes in Jamal Murray. And everyone's talking about Jokic because Jokic is the guy on the team. He's the number one option. But I'm telling you, I say this with pause. I've been thinking about this thought all day. I think I will say this. The dynamic there, in terms of the difference in greatness with those two players, Mm, it reminds me of some other special duos who have played in this game. Big man, short guard duos. You know what I mean? Some really, really prestigious ones. It feels like the beginning of that with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, and especially knowing that they've been together for 3 years and they're going to continue to be together because they both signed contracts into the future. So look, Shaq and Kobe, like that's the vibes. That's the vibes, and they don't play like those two players. Don't get it twisted. I'm not comparing the players in any way. I'm just saying, Jokic is great. Murray is great. This is not one of those situations where it's too much of a drop off at all. It's just like the difference between Shaq and Kobe. That's how I feel in terms of those two players and how far away from each other they are. You have to really pay attention to both of them. Even though I think in our series, our focus should be Murray. Porter, pay attention to Porter, but attack him. Attack him. Keep him off balance. That's the best way to play a guy like Porter. He's very, very, very good offensively, but he's very young and he doesn't play defense very well. So you go straight at him. You force him into situations where he's trying to draw charges. You force him into situations where he's trying to swipe at the ball. You can get him out of there. That's how you handle a young player like that who can't play defense but can kill you offensively if he's confident. You get him off the floor. Pay attention to a guy that's playing really, really well right now. He's getting healthier by the second. Gary Harris. Very, very dangerous dude. Very dangerous. He's become a veteran at this point. I think we're in a veteran stage of Gary Harris's career. We're entering it, in my opinion. And he's seen enough. He's been through injuries. He's healthy. He was always a good enough scorer to maintain on your fantasy team. Even though he was inconsistent, he would give you enough to be relevant fantasy-wise if you're a fantasy basketball player. Gary Harris is somebody who's now turned himself into a defensive threat as well, a two-way player. Dangerous. Pay attention to him. He's only getting better. Monte Morris, exact same thing. Exact same thing. He's turning his offense into something that you have to pay attention to. His mid-range game is what has stood out to me in watching him play. He really, 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 really loves that little mid-range jumper. Pay attention to him. That is their team. They have quite a bit to offer in shooting, scoring the ball. They play team defense. They have defensive players that are only down there to bang with you, and they balance really well. Their center is always looking to pass. Their guards are always looking to murder. Like, I can't stress that enough. I use that word because that's exactly how I see Jamal Murray. He is a killer. That's why I would mention him in the same breath as Kobe Bryant on any level, because he is a killer. And I know we talk about Dame a lot. There are other killers in this league. I think a guy like Devin Booker could be seen as that way if he ever gets on a team where he can show it. I think he has it in him. There's several guys out there that we know are just pure killers. For me, the guy that comes to mind after Dame Lillard is Jamal Murray. That's who I'm thinking about. And I'm not considering Steph Curry, and I'm not considering KD for reasons that I have of my own, but those guys are definitely murderers as well. Never disrespect them, but they just haven't been on playing recently, so I can't really think about them right now. When they get back, I'll consider them. Steph Curry, he's playing, but he's not playing meaningful ball right now. But the killers that I'm looking at, the guys that are really on the forefront of my mind, would first be Dame Lillard, and would second be Jamal Murray. And you must understand that. You must understand it. All this talk about, we dodged the Clippers, we didn't have to play them. You're playing the team that defeated them. Prepare accordingly. Do not take them for granted. Do not think that you can pull your starters when you have a 15, 16-point lead and it's like maybe 7-8 minutes left on the clock. Fourth quarter. You do not pull your starters or the roster that's working, rather. You don't pull the players that are working off the floor. You keep them there till that clock says something around 2 and you're up 20 or something like that. Then you pull guys. This is that series. because no lead is safe against Denver. Even leads that have been bigger than the ones that they faced thus far are not safe. If they came back from 18, they can come back from 25. Do not let your foot off the gas with Jamal Murray. Do not let your foot off the gas with Nikola Jokic. Don't do it. That's the number one thing. If we address them like they're worthy to be here, we will meet our expectations and knock them out very, very quickly. Let me be very clear about this. I think we beat the Nuggets in 5. But if we don't beat the Nuggets in 5, this thing can go 7 and we can lose it. It's one of those. You got to take their heart. You got to extinguish the fire that is Jamal Murray. You must smother him. Turn Porter into a guy that wants to take charges and swipe the ball. And Nikola Jokic is going to get off regardless. Play the passing lanes with him. That's what I think you do. And the rest is just effort and Anthony Davis, really. Because like everybody else in the league, they have no answer for Anthony. Not a single one. Pay attention to Paul Millsap. His shot is starting to fall. Do not leave him open. Chase out three-point shooters, but do not become a shot blocker. When it comes to trying to, block three-point shots, it's a bad decision. Our team's been very good about that lately, so I'm not as concerned about that as I would be with other teams. We are actually really good at that. So, anyway, adjustments will be necessary. The Nuggets make pretty solid adjustments. Do expect to be up. The Nuggets always found themselves in 3-1 holes and big deficits for a reason. Expect to be up. We are better than this team. Have the killer instinct. Prepare for the resistance of Jamal, and we'll be fine. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.